and welcome back. This is all about how to use your guitar tuner. So I'm going to do two different videos here. This is going to be with a little handheld one that most of you will probably be starting with, and I'm going to do it for acoustics and electrics. Now this tuner works for both these types of tuners. The only thing you really need to look for is to make sure it has an external microphone, and these days just about every tuner I've seen does. So otherwise it's pretty simple. If you have an electric guitar though, you're not going to want to just play the string alone. You're actually going to want to take your cable and plug it into the input hole here. So it's important that if you have an electric guitar that you have some sort of a tuner that has an input jack for a 1/4 inch cable. So what you also want to do is, if you're doing acoustic guitar, it's really important when you use this tuner to have it somewhere where this microphone, in this case for this is the Seiko ST737, but I mean there's newer versions of this nowadays. But the microphone for this one is right in the center. So wherever it is, you want to look for where your microphone is, and just make sure that it can face the sound hole of your guitar if you have an acoustic guitar. So what I usually do, I like to put it on the music stand, or if you don't have a music stand, you can put it on your leg, somewhere where it's going to be, you know, within a foot or so of the sound hole. Because that's important. If you have it across the room, or you have it upside down, or it's not facing the guitar, you're going to get kind of a mixed reading, if a reading at all. You want to make sure that, you know, you can have the clearest signal possible come through the microphone. So okay, so I have my tuner here all set up, and my guitar is plugged into my tuner, as you can see right here. So I'm just going to go over the buttons here a little bit. Start with the power. It's important, obviously. So turning on the power, there's a little bit of a glare, it looks like, from the sun, but we'll just have to deal. So right now the power is on, and as we go across here, you're going to see there's a couple of buttons. Now, not every tuner's the same, but they're more or less covering the same basic functions. This one right here, this button here, it's a little like a lowercase b. That's actually a flat symbol, and then it's divided by what I believe is a comma, and then two flat symbols. And so what that's doing is, if you go through here on your screen right here, you can actually see where it's responding to the button, where it's adding flats on the screen. 1 flat, 2 flats, or back to standard. Now that's a tuning difference there. You want to make sure that as you're tuning your guitar, to start with at least, that you're in what's called standard tuning, which means that none of those flats are showing up on the register here. If you have 1 flat, it's going to keep you in a standard relationship. In other words, the same basic tuning, but the entire guitar will be 1 fret flat. And then if you have 2, you know, if you press this twice, you'll get the guitar 2 half steps flat. So you want to make sure that that's off. Now, some tuners have a pitch button where you can actually toggle in between what the hertz are. In this case, you want to keep it at 440. Your A string should always be at 440. Some tuners, see how I can go up here, and it'll eventually cycle back around. 437, 438, 439. So keep that at 440. Okay, and then we have what's called the note button here. Some tuners have this, some don't. What that will do is actually audibly shoot the pitch out for you to try to tune kind of like a pitch pipe. I don't recommend using that. I don't even know why they include it anymore. It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, so that's there. And then you have your mode, which is really important, where if you notice, as I toggle the mode, it goes between guitar and bass. So you want to make sure you keep that on guitar. Now, you have output here too, which if you want, you can run a cable from the output of the tuner and actually, I believe, run it into your amp. I've never actually tried that. Usually I just tune my guitar and then plug it directly into my amp. It makes a little more sense. So anyway, those are the buttons. Now here's some tuning pointers. So I'm going to start with mine, and it works basically kind of like any sort of needle-based device, any sort of dial, speedometer. Is that I'm starting with my low E string, it is coming out well, nice. And you can see that you want to look in the low left, tuners have it in different places, but for mine in the low left there's a 6 and then an E. It says guitar, and it's telling me how many cents flat I am. So the idea is to get the needle right in the center. You go too high, the light on the opposite side, this light right here, will tell you that you're too sharp. So you want to come back down. Flat symbol right here, light's lighting up, that lets you know you're too flat. The idea is to balance it right in the center. And to do this, you need to know and be comfortable with your string names. Now as we move, let's see if I can get a little closer. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, with most tuners that have the 2 light system like this, you just want both lights on or off depending on how they work. But just get it as close as you can. What happen here is, say your guitar gets bumped or something like that, your A string could actually get lowered all the way down to the next pitch that the tuner is going to pick up, which is a G pitch, all the way down to the other side of the alphabet. And so as you're playing what you think should be your A string, you might have something registering like this, where there's a 3 and then a 6, which is actually in LCD terms a G. Is that it thinks that it's this string up here. It thinks that it's your 3rd string because it's just going to the closest pitch that it's programmed to find, being the open pitches. So it thinks that it's your G string, but you have to be smart enough to go, oh well, wait, that 5th string should be an A. Familiarize yourself a little with the musical alphabet and go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, I could go all the way down through all the letters and get to A, or maybe I could just jump up and push it all the way off the G register. Notice the needle's at the very top. And there it finally pops up on the low side of the A register. And there's a 5 next to it, so you know that it's the right string. There you go. That's how that works. Now, there are some rare instances. It depends on the tuner. I shouldn't say it's all that rare. It's actually pretty common depending on your tuner. Where you might be, and I'm trying to do it now, you might be in between the lowest section of the A register or the highest section of the G register. My tuner's pretty good about this, but what can happen is that it'll start flickering back and forth between this and that, and it'll go and you know, it'll say G and the needle will be all the way at the top, or it'll say A and the needle will be all the way at the bottom. And so you have to kind of be able to understand that the tuner doesn't know which pitch you're looking for and that you're in the exact range of both. So just keep going and trust that you'll pop up on the right register and you'll be fine. So one other thing now, and this is a universal tuning pointer, is that as you're doing this, you always want to tune upwards into pitch. So in other words, if you're trying to tune your A string and you overshoot it and you end up here or something, don't just come all the way back to pitch and think you're good, because what's going to happen is there's some slack that hasn't slipped through the nut of the guitar, and as you strum and start to play, it's going to slip lower than that. So you want to come and always go back underneath the pitch you want and come up into it, and don't overshoot it. And you also want to cover up all the surrounding strings as much as you can, because as you play your guitar, as you ring this string, especially with acoustics, it's going to make all the strings ring a little bit because the body's vibrating, and that can skew the purity of the signal for the tuner. So those are the basic tuning tips. You'll get used to it, and it's always better to rock out in tune.